Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're just pausing for about 30 seconds here as people enter into the space and get settled, and then we'll begin. All right, good morning again and welcome. My name is Lawrence Demare. I'm a professional learning consultant with the Ontario Principals Council, and we are very delighted to welcome you here this morning to part 4 of our 4-part webinar series on healthy relationships, a leader's approach to cyberbullying and cyber violence. And this is a partnership between the 3 principals associations in Ontario, and we're happy that you've decided to spend some time to learn with us this morning. So welcome. Before we move into the webinar proper, we're going to take an opportunity to start in a good way and acknowledge the land that we are connecting from this morning. We would like to acknowledge that as staff of our respective organizations, that we live, work, and derive benefit from being on the ancestral lands that have always been home to the Anishinaabe and the Amish-Kiko peoples, who are the inherent right holders of these territories, in particular the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe. And we are thankful and grateful for the opportunity to be able to develop relationships and to share in this space. As partners in public education, we know that we have a duty to continue to deepen our understanding and redress the historic and ongoing impacts of colonialism. And both individually and collectively, we have a responsibility to reconcile our relationships with both the land and the original peoples. So if you would like to acknowledge the land that you're connecting from this morning, please feel free to do so in the chat box.
And while you're doing that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tim Ralph. I'm one of the co-leads to our presentation today and representing Ontario Principals Council and the consortium that's working on this Healthy Relationships project. Just some housekeeping items before we begin today. As you may have noted, this is a recorded session, so if things happen today that require you to get out of the office and move to a new location to do some other things, we will be posting this recording on both the CPCO and the OPC websites. So that will be available to you. And just to be aware that if you are online today, we will be recording. We do absolutely encourage questions during our presentations. We have just a wonderful whole plethora of individuals presenting today on the topic of cyberbullying and cyber violence from various school boards. If you have a question, please place it in the chat, and then we'll get to those at the end of the presentations as we work through today. We will just encourage you, if you haven't already, ensure your microphone is muted throughout the presentation, as sometimes those office sounds work their way in. So please do that. And then lastly, and importantly as well, please share with your colleagues that you were here today, and feel free to do that through whatever channel you do that, whether it's face-to-face or online through social media. Let them know that you were here as part of a professional learning opportunity through CPCO and OPC, and that they can find resources online. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And of course, I'll take a moment as well to wish all my colleagues a very happy Principals Day, whether you're a principal or a vice principal or administrator at the board. We really are glad you're here today. We know how hard you work every day, and we appreciate that you're able to carve out a little time for us today. So thank you for that. This project, called Healthy Relationships, Cyberbullying and Cyber Violence, is actually a multi-year project and is a co-project sponsored by the Catholic Principals Council Ontario, ADFO, our colleagues on the French side, OPC, through the Principals Association projects, and through Victim Services Ontario. Not only are we providing webinars, we are also updating some of the documents and resources available to you as administrators in schools. And so that piece of the puzzle is something that I'm going to just take just 2 minutes to just point to you as well. We have, as you know, I say as you know because I see some familiar names. So welcome back. I see some familiar names in the box of people who've been to one, two, or three so far of our presentations. This is our final session on cyber violence and cyberbullying. Our goal was to share the resources that we currently have on our websites for administrators. We'll do that in a second. We wanted to increase awareness of cyber violence and cyberbullying supports and the responses that you as administrators will hopefully learn and talk about today. And also, we're looking to gather feedback from you. So you'll receive after this workshop an email asking for further feedback that helps us program both at this topic, but broader topics as well from your principal associations. Where are those website resources, you ask? Well, those resources are available on both websites. These resources are both available to our colleagues who are on the Catholic school side. They are tailored to schools on the Catholic school side, and they're available in OPC, tailored to those schools that are on the public side. You will see those QR codes on your screen right now, and those QR codes will take you directly to those pages. But there's also a bit.ly there that you can use to jump to those pages as well. You can also go to CPCO or OPC online and search for cyberbullying, cyber violence, and you'll be taken directly to those pages too. I encourage you to explore those resources. They are excellent. There are many, many resources, and we'll be updating our placemats this year, and they'll be up this summer for September start. These placemats that we've been using in the past few years, responses and how to proactively approach these issues in our schools are going to be updated, but also we'll be providing a PowerPoint you may be using for parent nights or for staff meetings. We'll be providing that this summer as well. So keep your eyes open on the resource page for that. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my co-lead. Very pleased to have Bruno with us today from the Catholic Principals Council of Ontario. Bruno's going to walk us through the moderated discussion today. And with that, Bruno, it is all yours.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everyone. We're happy you're here with us today. As Lawrence mentioned, we have a number of facilitators today leading us in our learning. I'd like to introduce you to them very quickly. So we have two teams from Windsor Catholic, or Windsor Essex Catholic District Board, and the Toronto Catholic District School Board. So from the Windsor Essex Board, we have Amy Lofazo, and she is currently the Assistant Principal for Safe Schools. And from the Essex County Youth Division, we have Joanna Conrad, who is the Executive Director of the Youth Diversion. From Toronto Catholic, we have a number of people. Nadia Adranya, who is the Safe Schools Coordinator and St. Martin Catholic School Principal. Julie Fantinato, the Kindergarten to Grade 12 Safe Schools Advisor. Carmela La Rosa, K-12 Digital Learning Integration Resource Teacher. Matthew Lannon, Vice Principal for Day E-Learning and Digital Learning Integration. And Sharith Sarvatanan, Head of Technology Operations. We thank you for being here, and we are looking forward to hearing about your presentations today, and we thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us this morning. I'm going to turn it over to the Toronto Catholic team to start us off.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Our presentation today, How Do Leaders Plan? Promoting Social Connectedness and Healthy Relationships, focuses on things that we can do in our respective school boards to address activities occurring online that are impacting our communities, specifically cyberbullying, cyber violence, etc. Here with me today are our team members, Julie from Safe Schools, Cherith from ICT Services, and Carmela and Matthew Lannon from the Digital Learning Integration Team. Next slide, please. Our agenda for today includes a number of items. Firstly, a quick review of the multiple duties of the principal as they relate to activities online and also offline, digital safety, building a safe digital learning environment, and lastly, preventative strategies to promote safe and healthy spaces. So let's start with duties of the principal. Next slide, please. Section 265(1) of the Education Act lists the varied duties of the principals, and our first duty is to maintain proper order and discipline in the school. Now, the phrase "in the school" relates to activities occurring at school and at school-related activities, and also activities occurring in those circumstances that impact on school climate, which includes activities happening online. Next slide, please. The Education Act then goes on to expand on this duty identified in Section 265(1)(a). We're all very familiar with Sections 306, 310, and 311 of the Education Act, which address the principal's duty to consider suspension and expulsion when certain activities occur, including activities occurring in other circumstances impacting on school climate, like cyberbullying and cyberviolence. Next slide, please. The Education Act is rich in duties for the principal. Section 300.2 talks about the principal's duty to investigate all reports, including those reports received that relate to online activity, like cyberbullying and cyberviolence. Next slide, please. Protocols, like our Toronto Catholic District School Board, Police School Board protocol, also highlight our duty to be responsible for the health and welfare of students and members of the school community, and to maintain discipline and proper order in our schools. Next slide, please. The Occupational Health and Safety Act describes the principal's duty as a supervisor, including the duty to take every precaution reasonable to protect the worker. The principal has the duty to address potential or actual dangers that may exist in the workplace, but also potential actual dangers that are outside of the workplace, for example, domestic matters, online activity that may negatively impact the worker in the workplace. So as you can see, we have multiple duties as principals, and those duties relate to things that are happening in the moment, at school-related activities, but also happening offline, outside school hours that again impact school climate. So our duties are varied, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Cherith from our team to start the conversation and the discussion about what is it that we are doing at Toronto Catholic to, address those potential risks as they relate to cyberviolence, cyberbullying, and activities happening online. Cherith?
Thank you, Nadia. Good morning. My name is Cherith Aratne. I'm the head of technology operations at the Toronto Catholic District School Board. I wanted to start our discussion on the next slide, with some of the guardrails that we have put in on our school network. So our school network really is the doorway into our students, and this is how they access content through their devices. We have put in restrictions that prevent them from accessing harmful and prohibited content using our school network or using our school devices as well. As for PPM 128, we had to expand that restrictions to also include social media sites. They are not accessible through our network. However, the PPM did allow for some exemption if there's a pedagogical reasons for accessing social media. I know Twitter or X comes into mind. So we do have exemption process put in place for that, for approved use of social media. I also wanted to highlight the use of proxy avoidance tools and anonymizers. Our students are very clever. They're always looking for ways to bypass our restrictions. There are sites that allow them to do that by accessing virtual web browsers and other technologies. So we do have restrictions in place that disencourage the use of that kind of utilities. The restrictions are also in place on our Chromebooks that we provision to our students. Now, when the Chromebook is at our school, of course, they're using our school network and they're subject to the restrictions that we have in place. But we have also configured our Chromebooks to have those same restrictions in place when they're used at the student's home network as well. So the restriction is set on the device that prohibits using for accessing any unapproved websites. I also wanted to highlight how important it is for all of us to report any suspicious activity to their respective ICT departments. There have been several cases this year where either a teacher or a principal has made us aware of the use of either a website or some other online application for use that are completely inappropriate for school. There was a chat service that might be marked as safe by the use of it, but it is intended for adult use, and we were very quick to respond to these kind of reports and block any sites that come through to our knowledge from our staff and educators at our schools. Our students are subject to the acceptable use of technology policy and the student internet agreement. Now, the acceptable use of technology policy is a board-wide policy that's in place for all staff, whether they're in the corporate services or in the academic streams. The student internet agreement is a little bit more curated for our students. It discusses subjects, things like cyberbullying, plagiarism, and other unapproved use of our technology services. And finally, we have created our artificial intelligence guideline. This is a recent development. It's a rapidly evolving technology. We opted to use a guideline rather than write a policy for it, just because of the sheer nature of its transformation and its growth over the years. It's a little bit hard to kind of pin down a policy towards it, and we opted to write a guideline that encourages the use of AI in a safe and curated manner. In this slide here, we have the links to all the documents I just spoke on. These links are publicly accessible on our website, so you don't need a VPN or anything like that to access them. I also wanted to put a highlight on the device use policy. This is not so much of a technology policy, it's more of an administrative policy available to our educators at our school. This is actually born out of PPM 128 that empowers our educators to ask students to put away, turn off, or silence their mobile device or any other technology device that they have in their possession. So thank you very much. I'll pass it over to Matt.
Thanks, and very happy to be here. I'm very fortunate in my role in that I wear several different hats. So in addition to being responsible for our e-learning program, I also lead our digital learning integration team. And as part of that, I co-chair a software review committee. Cherith sometimes is involved with that as well. And so this is really the melding of the academic side, which I represent with our ICT folks and our privacy folks. And a lot of what we do is vetting all of the wonderful tools, some of which are AI tools now that are, increasingly in use in our system. And in doing so, we're really taking a putting a preventative focus on use of these tools, ensuring that students and staff are able to experiment with them, but in a safe and responsible way that respects many of the privacy concerns that we're seeing emerge these days. To do so, we have a digital tool review process in place that's meant to support both the academic and the business side of the operation. It's to ensure that we meet all of our legislative responsibilities outlined in the Municipal Freedom of Information Act, and as Cherith referenced, to ensure that any tools that we're vetting for use among students and staff and business side is in alignment with our TCDSB policies. Of course, that also includes our more recent AI guidelines, which Cherith just referenced. And we also, many of you will be familiar with ECNO and the work that it does in terms of grading the safety of various online tools. We also take that into account. One of the members of our committee is our privacy person, and so he lends his expertise to the process as well. And then, of course, myself and my team, which includes Carmela, we're looking at digital tools and in terms of their pedagogical merit. How can they enhance the work that teachers and staff are doing in the classroom? Again, in a responsible and safe way. And a lot of what we do through the digital learning integration team through this process is just raising awareness of all the great tools that are out there and the ways in which they can be responsibly used. Teachers, actually anyone in the system is able to submit a digital intake form and request the approval of a digital application, and then it goes through a very robust process, which I will outline. I think this is perfect actually. This is only visible internally to staff at TCDSB, but I wanted to share it with you today. This is a very comprehensive list of approved digital tools. It's growing quite a bit. We review this list biannually to meet any changes in privacy policies or changes in use throughout the system. This contains a wide variety of digital tools, and as we enter the AI universe, as we all are these days, we are starting to include some AI-based tools as well. This year, we actually rolled out Canva, which some of you may be familiar with. Canva does have some AI features. Those AI features are currently available to staff only, and in the near future, we're looking to roll it out to our secondary students as well. We also have Copilot in use for staff only at this point, but we are looking at other applications like Gemini for potential use with staff and students. So just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what that list looks like. I should note that if an educator or an administrator or a staff member clicks on the specific box for a specific application, it provides all kinds of information on that application. Things ranging from how you would integrate it into the curriculum, as well as what we call educator guidelines, which outline some of the red flags with the application. There might be cautionary notes outlining the safe and responsible way in which the application should be used in the classroom to maximize the benefit of it. Carmel, if I can get you to go to the next slide. So this kind of, back to what I was saying about having a robust process in place. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but this kind of takes you from start to finish on how our digital tool vetting process works. So there's a request intake. Anyone in the system can request a digital tool. We do ask that if a teacher is requesting a tool, it's with the support of their respective administrator at the school. And then we also assign a champion to that tool. So for example, if someone is requesting a tool that deals with writing or literacy, we pair that teacher making the request up with a resource teacher here centrally at the board who can help facilitate the process of writing the intake, making sure that, all the parameters are met so that we can have a smooth process. Once we receive the intake, my team, so myself, Carmela, we also have Lana on the team, digital learning integration, we take a really comprehensive look at it. Does it meet the pedagogical standards? Is there a purpose for it? Does a similar tool already exist? Because we're trying to avoid things like duplication. There's so many tools out there. Then we refer it to Brian Shannon, who's our privacy guru. He's amazing. He does a privacy review. That also involves referencing ECNO's what's called VASP score. So the higher the score, the higher the risk associated with a particular application. If the score is too high, we don't even look at it because there's too many privacy concerns. Then it goes on to a technological review. That's where Cherith and his team kind of look at, can we integrate this with systems that currently exist with platforms like D2L, Google Classroom? Is this actually going to work within our technological ecosystem at the board? Then it goes to final approval. If it's approved at that time, we list it with all of the guidelines that I mentioned before, and I just showed you what that list looks like. It's a available list on our SharePoint to anyone with TCDSB access. If there's a tool with a particular business focus, there might also be a procurement review attached, like as an add-on to the process. And then ultimately, as I said, it would go onto our list. Next slide, Carmela. Why do we do this? Again, this is all with a mind towards being preventative, right? You think of it like preventative medicine. So the more we do up front, the less risk there is of something happening because, look, I'll be frank, We call it shadow IT now, right? And I'm sure all of you have this happening, and it's understandable at your respective boards. People are excited about these new applications and these new technologies, and they're using them, whether we like it or not. And so we're really encouraging people to bring the use of these applications out of the shadows and to bring it through this process so that we can ensure that when students and staff are using these applications, their privacy is not being compromised. I know later Carmela is going to talk to some of the work we do going into schools to raise awareness of this sort of thing. And I'm sure one of the things she'll touch on is there really is a shocking lack of awareness about the amount of information that is used by these applications and systems, right? So when you're using an AI tool, it's collecting an astonishing amount of information. And so it's very important that, like I said, we bring it out of the shadows through the vetting process, have a list of approved tools so that administrators, parents, teachers, etc., know that when they're engaging with these tools, they're safe, right? They're fun, they're useful, they have pedagogical merit, but they're also safe so that we can reduce incidences of, cyber attacks, cyber bullying, information being compromised. So some of the things we're trying to do, again, if we're not following this process, we risk duplicating, which isn't efficient. We're going to have a multiplicity of tools doing the same thing. So we really placed an emphasis on streamlining the tools that we have. So I referenced Canva. Many of you will know Google phased out the use of Jamboard. Canva has an even better whiteboarding function. So it kind of meets a variety of functions. It's safe, and it also has AI tools integrated, which we've started to roll out now that we've published our AI guidelines. Again, I mentioned avoiding shadow IT, avoiding privacy breaches, avoiding non-compliance with our various policies. And frankly, there's real world consequences where we can be fined, right? Through the Municipal Freedom of Information, through the Public Health Privacy Information Act. If we don't meet some of these standards, there can be very real consequences for boards, sometimes monetary, if they haven't taken the necessary steps. Next slide, Carmela. I think I'm coming up on the end of my part. So some of the things we're looking at in the broader sphere of our board, we're actually ultimately going to be sending out a notification of digital tool use. And this will actually go to parents. So this will be an informed notice statement, a generic statement for all students and their parents. It will include a list of all of our approved applications, which I just referenced in this presentation. It's going to allow the board to meet all of our requirements under municipal freedom of information and all of our governing policies and guidelines at the board. It's providing transparency and information about, reasonable security measures that we're implementing to protect privacy of students using these tools. And also, there'll be an education piece associated with this so that staff know how to answer any questions that might arise following the release of this notification. Next slide, Carmela. And finally, we're looking to launch this in the coming academic year. We've been involving union members. I've been speaking at principals meetings, area meetings. We're going to be providing some supporting materials, not just for digital tools in general, but we're also working on a framework to support our AI guidelines that will kind of further inform the use of AI specific tools in the classroom. And this will all be, this will all be like part of a public campaign to raise awareness, not just among staff, but among parents and students as well. And I think that brings me to the end of my piece. Certainly happy to answer any questions later on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carmela. So I'm just going to be looking at kind of the digital citizenship teaching toolbox that we can also offer to principals. We align it a lot to what we teach our students as well, because we think that that parallel is very important as we're all learning on this journey as well. And so the same kind of important front loading that we do for our students, it's important that staff are very aware of it and admin understands it as well so that they are able to build that capacity amongst their staff in order to be able to do this efficiently and effectively. So we're going to be looking at what is it, what's a digital footprint, okay, the ethical and responsible use of technology and the internet, and now in this case AI, as we've included it. Um, it's it's important that they understand that it leaves a trail behind of data, that even if it is deleted, it is still something that is maintained online. It's not something that is easily deletable. It represents who you are on a digital scale. And this can include emails that you send and information. And in particular, when we live in an enterprise suite as we do at the board, everything is detectable, traceable, things like that. So it's even more important that you are representing yourself and the people you work for in this case. Um, such as the board as TCDSB, to be aware of the things that are being done actively, right? Then there's the passive footprint that you leave behind that is found in cookies and clearing your cache and things like that. But at least actively to be very aware and intentional of the things that are being posted. So we're looking at safe and responsible navigation, understanding digital environments and the safety, using them in a positive way. Privacy protection, as Matt stated, keeping that information very strong with passwords. We've just implemented fully in the board our MFA tool. So we all use either online, or we have a little token where basically we have a secondary authenticator. So every time we log in, it's not only enough that we have our password, but now we are given a code and you have your multi-factor authenticator. So that's really good. And I'm glad we implemented that, as sometimes it could be annoying when we are logging in and you're constantly closing your computers and things like that. But it is so, so important that we have that to avoid breaches, right? And digital footprint awareness, again, being mindful of the long term impact and online actions of maintaining that positive online persona that we're trying to also instill in our students. Okay, so we're also looking at respectful engagement, um, cybersecurity awareness, and that critical thinking. So these are the things that we kind of blitz out. Actually, just recently with Toronto Catholic, we did a Safe School Symposium, and this was the main topic. And it was basically important for students at this level to understand that, you know, whatever they are doing online, that it has that implication of understanding that data is being collected and things like that. Um, Teachers were also present there, but this was more on the student level. But it doesn't mean that we can't share this information also with administrators. For privacy and security, it's important that we understand. So this is something that's very important, especially for my department, because we are spreading this awareness on a variety of levels here, even superintendent level, just to understand how privacy works. Because a lot of the complaints that come out, it's like, well, I want to use the app that I want to use, and it seems to be safe and things like that. But we even look at things like, even if you're not logging into a page and there's advertisements, some adults are unaware that advertisements can't be targeted to students. So that's also a reason why an application might not be able to be used in a very respectful way, or it always tries to target, and it really ruins the privacy aspect of it. So again, safe online behavior, making sure that nickname and usernames are being used. So like Matt mentioned, he in our review, when we make our little tile of the options that you've seen that we've created, there are educator guidelines within that also prompt the educator to do it in a responsible way. One of which could be creating their own nickname. So the teachers might have to load up the class list, and then they would have to be creating whatever usernames they want, wolf123, wolf2345, right? So just to keep it very unique, and no student's information is getting out there. Also password security, which I mentioned, cybersecurity awareness. Again, these are things that we constantly promote. I get called into schools to do a lot of cybersecurity and cyber safety kind of discussions. And even just the awareness that there's a lot of kids that use also cell phones, and they don't realize that under the age of 18, your parents are have an implication there too. So there's all these things that again are very passive. They seem passive, but they're actually things that will um, change the use of it over time. And then reporting the and ethical use. So now we're very lucky, there's a lot of websites where you can report phishing and you can report all these things. And even on the TCDSB level, we have our amazing ICT team where you can report certain things in the enterprise level, and any encounters or the disrespect of policy and things like that are mitigated and taken care of. Media balance and well-being, I think this goes again for everyone. We are all very aware of the type of screen time we also use as adults, and administrators and teachers, and just representing what that could be for our students, and also making sure that we are also mimicking that around in the system as well. So just setting screen time limits on social media ads and things like that. So obviously this, with the implementation of our cell phone ban, obviously there are workarounds, especially for grade 7 and up. If it's used for a pedagogical reason, that's great, but it also helps screen time limiting, right? So encouraging offline activities, making sure that you're online in the presence of people, mindful media consumption. So anything like that, this would probably be the bit where the pedagogy comes in, watching educational videos, and limiting the type of entertainment style um, content. Open dialogue, just being very open and transparent about the things that exist. Like, students will be the first ones to tell you that they're unhappy with the use of social media, yet they can't stop because of that form of addiction that's created. And as adults, we are very aware of it because some of us go through it as well. And so, even having this discussion first as administrators with your staff, and then being able to front load all that great information so they're able to spread it to their students. And it's just that real discussion that you end up opening up. And then just monitoring tools, using the tools, setting reminders for students, having them take breaks and things like that, and just being very aware of that balance. And then here are some resources that we've curated. Obviously, some of them are pretty typical that everybody uses, like Kids Help Phone and things like that. We love using Common Sense Education, Media Smarts. ECNO has some really good information on cybersecurity and safety for anti-bullying and things like that. It just teaches educators and students the skills to navigate a digital world. And there's so many amazing, it's rich in resources for staff. It's also rich in resources to share as a school community. So administrators can actually download some posters and things like that to put around in the school, just to keep it very, very aware. And places like Need Help Now, Kids Help Phone, and Canadian Center for Children Protection are places where you can actually put in a request if there is something going on online that you're worried about, and you can report. Okay. This is obviously also outside of the enterprise. And that's it. I'll pass it over to Julie.
Thanks, Carmela. Julie Fantinato. I'm a K-12 Safe School Advisor. What I'm going to talk about, and how are we addressing cyberbullying and cyber violence in our schools? So I think I'm looking at the chat, Carmela. Okay, so Carmela just talked about the website Need Help Now. All of our schools in TCDSB have this and other posters in our school to let them know that if they have an image, that inappropriate image, and it's out there in the World Wide Web, that Need Help Now can help them retrieve that image or video and get that down. So this is in all of our schools. Let's take a look at the next one, Carmela, please. We in TCDSB create during Bullying Awareness and Prevention Week a newsletter for staff and a newsletter for families, and of course addressing bullying and of course cyberbullying as well. So that goes out to everyone. The next thing we have is a brochure for everyone. Topics include understanding bullying behavior. Bullying behavior includes how can schools help, how can students help, how can families help, and of course, resources for families. The next thing is really interesting. So every single TCDSB school has received this book, Hacking School Discipline, 9 Ways to Create a Culture of Empathy and Responsibility Using Restorative Practices. The reason why this fits in with the cyberbullying and cyber violence is because some of the chapters or hacks include how to repair the harm if after cyberbullying or cyber violence has been happening. Another one is cultivating empathy. Empathy is actually the antidote for bullying. Other things are circle up. So when something happens in the classroom, we can circle up and address the issue in the class where things happen. Also, we some of the other hacks are teaching mindfulness and a growth mindset. Piggybacking off of hacking school discipline is the next thing that we're talking about. We, at Safe Schools, my main job is to deliver workshops. So we have created a 3-part workshop on the book Hacking School Discipline, and superintendents chose specific schools, and principals and a lead teacher came to all 3 workshops where we took a look at the hacks. Teachers were able to choose some of the hacks, implement them into the school. When they came back in February, they talked about what went well, what didn't go well, and then maybe picked up some tips and tricks and how they might change it up. And then at the end of that workshop, they're thinking about who will I like to tap on the shoulder at my school, my teaching partner, my next door, my colleague, so that they can implement some of these hacks into their classroom so that we can actually have a positive school climate, not just that one teacher who came to our workshop. The next slide has to do with some of the hacks. We've bundled them up. So teachers either worked on bundle 1, throwing out the rules, let's talk, but the most important one is repairing that harm. Bundle 2 is that circling up, dealing with issues that happen, and cultivating empathy, which I said is so important to combat bullying. And then the third bundle, the teachers were working on either both growth mindset and mindfulness. All right, something that we just had yesterday and the day before. So the Safe Schools team is exhausted, as well as Carmela La Rosa, because we had our Safe School symposiums just yesterday and the day before. Those were the spring ones. And we also have Safe School symposiums for elementary and secondary during Bullying Awareness and Prevention Week. Yesterday, we had Randall Adjei. He is a Toronto Catholic School Board graduate, but also the first Ontario Poet Laureate. And he, through poetry and inspirational speaking, spoke to us on how we can change and interact and what are our interactions online. And of course, serving with love. Our beautiful Carmela spoke to you about the responsible technology use, positive digital footprint, and myself and my other Safe School advisor spoke about device and social media usage. And we had yesterday, oh my gosh, over 750 kiddos. Yes, Carmela, we did it. And the day before, that was elementary. The day before, we had over 350 high school students there. So it was a fabulous place to tap on our student leaders so that they can then bring that information back into their schools. Another project that we have going on is something called Joy and Best. Joy is just one U, and Best is brothers. It's left my mind. However, it's a boys group and we have a girls group. And these are 10-week projects that students come and 10 sessions, and one of the 10 sessions for sure specifically focuses on ensuring online safety. All the sessions focus on one or more Catholic graduate expectations, and it provides a safer place for our boys and girls so that they can talk and they can help be the best possible versions of themselves. It improves their healthy relationships, communication skills, builds that resilience, and lifelong skills like teamwork, leadership, and of course, self-awareness. We also have RCMC, Resolution Conference and Mediation Circles. These can be formal or informal and be used for all issues that we have in the school. But of course, we're talking about cyberbullying and cyber violence. These are the ways how we can access the formal and informal. The next slide is even more important to me. It's the other side of the brochure. Principals have this hanging right on their corkboard. The reason why I love this side is because we have those 5 questions that principals can help use in all those times when those kiddos are in your office. What happened? What were you thinking? What have you thought about since? Who has been affected? There's our restorative practice. And then here's the how can you make it right, that repairing the harm. So principals have it right up there. They don't need to think about it. They can access this right away. And I think that comes to the end of our workshop. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns for the team, we will gladly hear from you.
Thank you to our Toronto Catholic team. That was fantastic. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but does anyone have a question that they'd like to share with the Toronto Catholic team at this time? Feel free just to pop it out.
I just want to give out a shout out to Danielle Hiles, a friend of mine. I just saw that her in there.
Well, if there are no questions, then we're just going to turn it over to Amy and Joanna. So take it away.
Wonderful, thank you. And Joanna is getting ready to put up our presentation, and there it is, Combating Cyberspace Together. And our focus really dovetails on a school and agency-based approach to address cyber violence and cyberbullying in schools. I am Amy Lafazo. I am a Safe Schools System Principal. I have been a principal in school, vice principal and principal for over 22 years, and I recently moved to the board. And these are areas that I certainly deal with directly, both with schools and on a system level. My partner here today, really the presentation, the bulk of the presentation will rest on the work that she does with us, but it is my pleasure to introduce Joanna Conrad. She is the Executive Director of Youth Diversion. Now, Joanna is a community partner, and she has been with us for over a decade. She works directly with our leaders, with our staff, with parents and with students to address really issues that are presented by the young people that we both share and serve in our communities. Moreover, she really does respond with tailored solutions and engaging interactive resources that address the barriers that are related to the myriad of youth-related concerns, specifically today, online violence and cyberbullying, and particularly as those areas intersect and manifest in our schools. Her skills and expertise in decoding and really, at times, literally translating for us administrators, for our staff, the trends, the look-fors. They really help us as administrators navigate the cyber world with knowledge, and they provide tools that help us recognize and respond. And here it speaks to our why. This is our why for doing this, for working together like this, is prevention. And we do this firstly by empowering our stakeholders through some awareness, through promoting digital citizenship. We incorporate safeguards. These are our objectives and our goals. And you can see that we do this through a leadership, through education and training, through intervention strategies, and as well as a community collaboration. In terms of what we do this together. Again, this is a collaboration, and we walk alongside each other. We identify, we assess, we intervene, and we also follow up. Our next slide speaks to how do we do it. Again, we work together. We include an appropriate prevention program, and this is co-hosted by a school-based community liaison officers that we have in our schools, in our Catholic schools here in Windsor. We continually monitor for impact, and we also do this through a faith-based lens that truly reflects our Catholic values and our graduate expectations.
Okay, I'll jump in here. So we're going to talk a little bit about how youth diversion jumps into the collaborative approach in terms of how we respond to cyber violence. And when we at Youth Diversion look at cyber violence and what's going on, especially in the online and offline world, we really look at it from a perspective of knowing that we can't tackle this alone. And we also know that school boards can't tackle it alone. So our model really prioritizes early identification, very careful assessment, targeted intervention, and consistent follow-up with administrators specifically. And this really isn't about reacting after the harm is done. We know that it's important to build a safety net before that point. So we work hand in hand with schools and the police, and we map out supports that are tailored to each school's needs. So anything from prevention to coordinated check-ins, we're there to support. And when it comes to Catholic schools, we also take a faith-based lens, which means that we promote the healing, forgiveness, and dignity, which are all values that are deeply rooted in restorative justice, which has been discussed today, but it's also at the core of what youth diversion does. But today we're going to talk about cyber violence because that's really what we're all seeing, I'm sure, in various forms. We know that cyber violence is not limited to what most of us think is simply cyberbullying. This is a mind map here for you to show you just how far-reaching it actually is. And we know that we're dealing with a much more dangerous and complex landscape than we'd like to. So some things that we explore on a very heavily basis, on a regular basis, are sextortion and intimate image-based abuse, which is otherwise known as revenge pornography. Swatting and doxing. So for those who don't know what swatting or doxing may be, doxing is much more popular than swatting. They go hand in hand, but essentially it is when somebody shares another person's personal information and it is intended for the use of bullying or harassment online. It's meant to get them in a precarious position, essentially. They're both motivated by disagreements or perceived slights, even trivial things, oftentimes occurring online, but then can very much become dangerous in the offline world. And also speaking to AI, which has already been covered quite a bit today, but of course, deep fake anything, deep fake harassment, deep fake nudify type photos. These are all issues that we're seeing on a regular basis. Online hate and manipulation, of course, an ongoing issue as well, and also gaming-related toxicity. So we know that the consequences for youth are incredibly serious. It includes increasing mental health concerns, disengagement from school, perhaps truancy, damaged reputations, and in some cases, even legal consequences. So what are we seeing on the front lines? This is the ever-changing landscape that we're dealing with and a conversation that we're having at all times with school administrators, but also responding to teacher concerns and parent concerns for that matter as well. So one thing that as educators and administrators that you can do is recognize the emerging trends and being as aware of them as possible. Some of the things that we see on the front lines mainly are group chats being misused as tools for exclusion and harm, threats and harassment on gaming platforms, image-based abuse, again, oftentimes non-consensual. So whether it is a young person sharing an image that they received from a photo of an individual without their consent, or other times where they are simply creating images using AI and sharing those. Those are the two top ways that we see non-consensual sharing. And then again, perhaps what most concerning maybe is cyber ostracism, which you may think that you've heard all the terms, but perhaps I'm teaching you a new term. Just when we think we're sick of terms, here is a new one for you to take home, which is probably what most youth don't know as a term, but would definitely agree is probably the most concerning for them, because it is specific to being excluded or ignored from online environments, which again, for any young person, especially children between the ages of 8 to 9, 10 years old, this is the most damaging and most concerning. It cuts very deep, and even though it is silent, it is incredibly damaging. Many parents and teachers, unfortunately, miss the signs when we talk about cyber ostracism, but the impacts are very real. So online trends, for example, like the good boy label, which maybe you've heard, that is not used to compliment, but rather to mock. When a young person, for example, might say, good boy, instead of complimenting somebody for doing something, they're actually saying it in a way to dismiss them, to mock them, to degrade them. Again, they might say, go ask the teacher something, and the student will go do that, and they'll be like, oh, good boy. Again, that's not meant to be a good thing. It is sarcastic, it is mockery, and it is oftentimes used as a tool to bully. So when we talk about this in the sense of cyber ostracism, It really does label a young person, but again, it excludes them from different peers and may exclude them from conversations and may exclude them from the group. And it's also meant to make a person look like they are weak and like they are emotionally open and fragile, which is not oftentimes a way a young person wants to be perceived. Now, when we label somebody, whether it is as this quote unquote good boy or any other term that they might be using, it's especially concerning when it is done in front of peers. So this is something that we see that has been taken from a TikTok video that went viral to now in-person interactions. And of course, it's creating a ripple effect where we see something that might be perceived as a joke, even though, you know, again, most 13-year-olds would not perceive it to be this way, especially when they very much want to belong. And again, being called something that may lead to them being socially isolated, of course, you know, is never going to be beneficial for a young person. So when we talk about cyber ostracism as being one of the most silent epidemics for youth in our generation as of right now, we're talking about them being excluded from group chats. We're talking about them being unfriended en masse, whether it is being erased from a group chat, not being included in various conversations, perhaps not being friended, rumors being spread. And this is impacting kids on very many levels. Again, we've got kids that are staying up all night to be in a group chat simply because they are terrified about what may be said about them if they are not included, if they log off. But we also see young kids getting engaged in essentially trying to one-up one another in these types of group chats because this is where rivalry comes in, competitiveness. So very natural biological inclinations, although in a toxic environment like the online world, it is oftentimes misused and abused. And then of course, what happens thereafter. So even though, like I said, some of these things may be subtle or may appear to be not serious, you know, on the large front, they really are quite concerning. And we can't make the mistake that this is not cyber violence. It absolutely is. And it contributes to oftentimes dangerous behavior, whether it is depression, anxiety, self-isolation, low self-esteem, you know, so on and so forth. So without adult awareness and intervention, it absolutely does fester. So what can be done on our local level here when we talk about Windsor-Essex, Youth Diversion steps in by developing a wide range of programs that we deliver in-house, but also presentations that we deliver across Windsor and Essex and also into the GTA for that matter. Actually, I'll be there in May delivering some presentations, but we deliver presentations to students from grades 1 through 12 and even into post-secondary institutions. Some of the ones that are most popular are our KYPP, which is the hashtag Keep Your Privates Private. We have See Different, the Ripple Effect, which focuses specifically on cyber violence. We've got our Teen Intervene, Time to Lag. Some of these are reflective to gaming things, especially spending too much time online, understanding what addictive behavior online looks like. And then also See Different, being inclusive, understanding differences, respecting differences, whether that be a disability, whether that be, you know, just differences in terms of race, culture, what have you. So we're talking about being respectful to others. And then again, when we talk about parents, we understand that addressing a young person is really just one piece of the puzzle. The family has to be considered as a unit in order for us to ensure that the message is spread far and wide. And so we also deliver parent presentations. When we talk about early intervention as well, we deliver these presentations before, or we hope to deliver them before anything happens. So although we have principals that will reach out to us requesting presentations after something has happened, we encourage us to come in right from the get-go, especially, you know, September, October, get us in there, and also near the end of the year to help students understand, again, reminding them what may come with more free time, especially online. And we provide presentation, or we provide alongside to the presentations pre and post activities for teachers to implement in the classroom should they so choose, to help aid the discussion before and after. But we also provide tools and resources for parents as well, helping them keep those conversations going, because that conversation has to happen on a regular basis. We say daily basis, but realistically speaking, we can say on a regular basis would be beneficial. So I will end by saying this, that we know that cyber violence is not just an online issue. It shows up in our classrooms. It is in our attendance records as well when it comes to young people attending school. And we also know that it appears very much so in students' mental health. So we don't have to do this alone. The more we work together to tackle this issue, the better it will be, ideally. And of course, we are always looking to combat it together. We work very closely with the Windsor-Essex Catholic School Board to do that. And we do that to the best of our ability. So we'll leave with that, unless Amy, you'd like to add?
Thank you, Joanna. That was excellent. Thanks for sharing your experience, your expertise, and your programs with us. And again, we make sure that that Joanna is in contact with all of our principals, either directly, I liaison with that if as things are coming my way, I'll make that suggestion. But as well, we make sure that she is at our administrator, police community liaison, professional development series each and every year. And if there are any questions about that, we'd be happy to answer anything. Seeing none, I'll turn it over back to our facilitators. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. We want to take this opportunity to thank our presenting teams from the two districts this morning. Shared some very important information and great strategies that can help all of us ensure that students have access to the powerful tools that we know they need for their learning, but also to be able to do that in a safe way. And some strategies for responding when students find themselves in some difficulty and how they're using those tools. So we really appreciate you sharing your expertise and experiences with us this morning. Much appreciated. And thanks to all who have attended today's webinar. As we mentioned, this is part 4 of our 4-part series. And so I know some of you have been along for the whole journey with us, and we appreciate that as well. Please refer back to our association websites where there are lots of other resources related to healthy relationships in a digital world, and we hope that you have an opportunity to take advantage of those as well. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. We hope you have a great Principals Day. As Tim mentioned, we appreciate all of the work that principals and vice principals are doing to lead positive and healthy environments in schools, and we really appreciate your work. So have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.